Remember that feeling of getting your first Tamagotchi? That excitement, that tiny pang of responsibility. Now, imagine channeling all that into something infinitely cuddlier, something that fits perfectly in the palm of your hand. That's Mofflin, Casio's AI pet robot. And we're diving deep into, well, what makes it tick or maybe purr.
It is intriguing how Mofflin manages to capture that sense of nostalgia. Like, we're so used to tech promising the future, but Mofflin seems equally rooted in the past.
Right. It's this fascinating blend of comfort and cutting-edge tech. So for this deep dive, we've waded through a mountain of articles and tech reviews and even got our hands on Casio's own marketing material.
Our mission, to uncover whether Mofflin is just a high-tech teddy bear or a genuine step toward the future of AI companions.
And of course, we'll try to answer the burning question, does it actually live up to the hype? But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's start with the basics. What is Mofflin exactly?
Well, it's definitely not your typical robot dog. Forget fetching, walking, tricks, any of that. Mofflin is designed for one thing and one thing only: to be your cuddle buddy.
So picture this. You're curled up on the couch, right? And nestled in your lap is this incredibly soft, almost, I don't know, amorphous creature covered in this luxurious fur. They have gray or blonde, by the way. And it moves with these incredibly lifelike, gentle movements. It's almost like
A cross between a hamster and a tribble. You know those adorable little fur balls from Star Trek?
exactly. That tactile experience is clearly a huge part of Mofflin's appeal. And it gets even better. When it's time for Mofflin to recharge, it doesn't just plug into a wall and snuggles into this adorable bed-like charging station.
Which I think cleverly plays into our perception of living creatures. It's not just charging, it's resting, re-energizing, almost like it's sleeping.
And that battery life, by the way, 5 hours. 5 hours of cuddle time before Mofflin needs a nap. But here's where things get really interesting. It's not just the outside that's designed for connection. Mofflin's real magic lies in its AI heart.
And this is where it sets itself apart from your average AI pet. You see, Mofflin doesn't try to, mimic the behavior of a real animal. It doesn't bark, fetch, roll over. Instead, it develops a unique personality based on your interactions with it.
So how does that actually work? Does it, like, read your mind or something?
Not quite mind reading, but it is surprisingly sophisticated. Mofflin uses a collection of sensors, things like accelerometers, gyroscopes, and even microphones, to understand how you're interacting with it.
Okay, so walk us through that. How do these sensors translate into Mofflin, learning?
Well, imagine this. You pick up Mofflin, and its accelerometer senses the movement, how quickly you're picking it up. The gyroscope figures out the orientation. Are you holding it upright, cradling it? And the microphones, they're picking up on your tone of voice, any sounds you might be making while interacting with it.
That's a lot of information for something so, well, fuzzy to process. So what happens with all this data?
This is where Casio's two-dimensional emotion express map comes into play. Now, I know that sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, but essentially it's a fancy way of saying that Mofflin can experience and express a range of emotions: happiness, stress, relaxation, all based on your interactions.
Hold on. So this little fur ball can feel stress. I'm already feeling guilty. But seriously, how would I even know what it's feeling?
Don't worry, you won't be needing therapy for your AI companion just yet. While Mofflin doesn't have a traditional face, with moving parts and all, it communicates its emotional state through more subtle cues: shifts in movement, the sounds it makes, even slight changes in temperature.
It's like a high-tech mood ring. But instead of just changing color, it's this whole, I don't know, complex emotional being.
That's a good way to put it. And if those subtle cues aren't enough, there's always the companion app. You can actually track Mofflin's emotional state, like in real time. It adds another layer to that whole, building a connection.
So it's not just about responding to you. It's about you understanding and responding to it. Fascinating. But this lack of a traditional face, it does make you think, doesn't it?
It does. It challenges our preconceived notions about, I guess, how AI companions should look and behave. We're so used to seeing robots with these human-like features trying to mimic our expressions. But Mofflin suggests that, well, maybe that's not necessary.
Maybe we're hardwired to, like, project emotions onto anything that responds to us, even if it doesn't look like us. It's like that old saying, to err is human, but to really foul things up, you need a computer. Just kidding.
Well, there is something to be said for the simplicity of Mofflin's design. It allows you to focus on the interaction itself, on the pure joy of touch and connection.
And that connection, that emotional bond that seems to be the key difference between Mofflin and, say, Sony's Aibo robot dog.
Absolutely. It's almost like comparing apples and oranges, or in this case, a robot dog and an AI.
Triple. I love it. So how does our furry little friend stack up then against its more well-known and perhaps more sophisticated-looking counterpart?
Well, Aibo, with its impressive range of movement and lifelike behavior, that's the focus. Replicating the outward actions of a real dog. It's about interaction, about, playing fetch, learning tricks.
It's the difference between mimicking behavior and simulating emotion, right? Aibo wants to be a good dog, but Mofflin wants to be your friend.
Exactly. It's a fascinating distinction, and it raises the question, which approach is ultimately more advanced? Is it more impressive to have a robot that can run and jump like a real dog,
Yeah.
or one that can, learn and respond to your emotional cues?
It's the age-old debate, is artificial intelligence truly intelligent if it can only mimic behavior? Or does it need to have something more? Something akin to, well, emotions.
And perhaps Mofflin is hinting at a future where AI companionship is less about functionality and more about, well, feeling. But let's delve a little deeper into the technology that makes this possible. We've touched on the sensors, but how does Mofflin's learning algorithm actually work?
Yeah, what is going on beneath that soft, cuddly exterior?
Well, picture it this way. Every time you interact with Mofflin, those sensors, the accelerometers, the gyroscopes, the touch sensors, they're collecting data. They're recording how you're holding it, how quickly or slowly you're petting it, even the tone of your voice.
It's like Mofflin is constantly taking notes on your every move, trying to, I don't know, decipher your emotional state.
In a way, yes. And all of that data is fed into its AI algorithm. Now, this algorithm is designed to recognize patterns in your behavior. So let's say you tend to pet Mofflin more gently when you're feeling stressed. The algorithm picks up on this pattern, and over time, Mofflin learns to associate that gentle petting with that particular emotional state in you.
So it's not just reacting to your touch, it's learning to interpret the meaning behind it.
Incredible. And here's where it gets even more interesting. As Mofflin learns these patterns, its own responses, they begin to evolve. It might start to make certain sounds or move in specific ways when it senses you're stressed, almost like it's, well, trying to comfort you.
It's fascinating, isn't it? This seemingly simple creature, this ball of fluff, capable of learning and adapting to our emotions in a way that I have to admit even some humans struggle with. It really makes you appreciate the power of, well, subtle cues, doesn't it? I mean, we're talking about a furry robot with, no facial expressions, but somehow it's designed to evoke this deep sense of connection.
It speaks to the power of artificial intelligence to tap into something, I don't know, primal within us. We're wired for connection, for touch, for comfort. And Mofflin, in its own way, seems to understand that.
It really makes you wonder, what are the implications of this kind of technology? I mean, are we on the cusp of a future where AI companions become like commonplace, offering comfort and companionship in a way that traditional pets, I don't know, can't always do?
It's certainly a possibility. Imagine a world where AI companions provide emotional support for the elderly, or help children on the autism spectrum develop social skills.
Or even just, offer a bit of comfort to those who are lonely or isolated. It's fascinating to think about. But of course, no deep dive into Mofflin would be complete without addressing the elephant in the room. Or, should I say the price tag, on the shelf.
That's right. As of right now, Mofflin will set you back about $398 USD.
Not exactly pocket change. Though I have to say, considering the technology, packed into this little guy, it's not entirely surprising.
And you have to remember, this isn't just a toy. It's a sophisticated piece of AI technology, years in the making.
True. And speaking of investment, there's also that Club Mofflin subscription to consider. It's not mandatory, but it does offer some, well, tempting perks.
Yes, like discounts on repairs, cleaning services. Imagine having your Mofflin professionally groomed, even a discount on replacement fur.
So you could have a Mofflin with like a fresh new look every year. I have to admit, that's both adorable and slightly terrifying. But I digress. The real question is Mofflin worth it?
That, of course, is a deeply personal question, but I think it boils down to this. Are you looking for a companion that can mimic the outward behavior of a pet, or one that can learn and respond to your emotional state?
Are you looking for a robot dog? Or are you looking for something, well, a bit more Mofflin-esque?
Precisely. And that's the beauty of this technology. It offers us choices, it challenges our preconceptions, and it invites us to, to reimagine the very nature of companionship. in the digital age.
It's a powerful thought, isn't it? That something as simple as a furry robot could spark, such profound questions about our relationship with technology and the very nature of connection.
It certainly gives us a lot to ponder, and perhaps that's the most valuable takeaway from our deep dive into the world of Mofflin. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about the possibilities it unlocks, the questions it raises, and the future it hints at.
So for anyone listening who's feeling intrigued, maybe even a little bit tempted to welcome a Mofflin into their lives, I say embrace the fluff, embrace the future.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll all have our own AI companions to, well, cuddle up with. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.